everyone.
Morning.
Hope you're having a nice start for Monday. Today we will have a webinar about the little bit interesting issue that we'll be facing, I think, in few years, and the issue that I think will be kind of more severe in coming years as technology progresses. So the theme is velocity gap. We'll soon hit the start button and go to the introductions, but maybe a few words. Olli, why do you think this theme is important?
Well, one of the discussions, and I think the repeating discussion is what's going on, what's happening next, and what should I do? And it comes in multiple forms, right? And one of the key things is I get asked, what's the return on interest or investment? And how do I blow my money back? Should I put my money into AI? And all of these are, I think, tied to the theme. Am I keeping up? Am I doing things fast enough? Is my velocity sufficient, right? So it's all about this theme, and I think it's repeating discussion.
Very, very good point, and a little bit reminds me of the discussion that I probably were had in about millennium time when the internet was coming. So very, very similar from that point of view.
Should I buy a modem?
Yes. All right, so let's start going. Quick introductions from us, so Olli, maybe if you OP.
Yeah, OP is fine. So Olli-Pekka Mannerkka, I'm actually a sales guy from the platforms and sales team here at Innofactor. Azure security, and of course AI. We all have to have at least some kind of an answer to AI. Happy to be here. Go ahead, Krista.
Yes, Krista Lahi in Innofactor, working about 8 years in sales mostly, but also chair of Finnish Microsoft Partner Organization or Association. And yeah, let's dive into it. So we wanted to frame this issue a little bit. So what kind of how this comes across, and we were thinking of this, that okay, if you think about technology that has been changing, especially with the large language models, then we kind of have to face the fact that the models are developing really fast. Of course, AI is much more than LLMs, but in LLMs, the progress, for example, is the fastest at the moment because most money is poured into that. And if we think about the let's say just one company, OpenAI, of course, if you think about Anthropic and what Google does as well, this is a bit multiplied and there's constant race, but the best performing model has changed 5 times in recent 18 months. And that speed is really fast. Already last week we had, I think, 5.1 by OpenAI. So a lot of things happening. While if you think, okay, how fast are companies' slow processes, like for example procurement process, but it can be any process in your organization that takes time, effort. It matters to the organization, so how well and fast you execute it. But most probably, most organizations would say, well, their internal procurement or whatever process that is hasn't really changed that much in the same 18 months. So kind of there we are coming to this a little bit dilemma that, okay, there's this external AI speed, technological speed, and this organizational speed. And while in a way organizations should utilize and benefit from the technology capability, how we are actually doing. We're not doing that well if we think what we have done within the organization, right?
Yeah, and that's really highlighting the velocity. Yeah. I think the key thing here is that you cannot compete, and you shouldn't compare to the velocity of Meta or Google, OpenAI, all these companies. But what you can do and what you can speed up is your own development, right? And you can compare to your competition. What is your competitor doing in AI, right? So I think that we can measure velocity in multiple ways.
Yeah, there's of course, we are not Google's and Meta's.
Yeah.
However, we should be able to utilize the technology where it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we can improve our own velocity from there, right?
Yeah. So when we think about this, what can we do? We wanted to highlight a few things. So first is beyond the proof of concept. Maybe Opi, would you open it up a little bit?
Yeah. So this is something that we also see repeatedly is, well, let's start with the proof of concept. What can we do with AI? And it's a tried and tested method of IT procurement and setting up new projects. But I feel that when we are doing a proof of concept, we don't really have a sufficient outcome. We are not ambitious enough on the outcomes of that proof of concept. What if we succeed, right? Let's have that mentality of, let's say we succeed in our co-pilot adoption proof of concept. So we deploy licenses, we buy the license, we deploy it to users, we gather some feedback. We mark it as successful. So we are stuck in that mindset of let's do a proof of concept, right? But I think what we should be doing is we should be a little bit more ambitious here and start thinking about what can we actually do with AI? Is it something that we can build on? Is it foundational? Microsoft today is talking about frontier companies, for example. It's talking about agents and it's talking about, well, today we have one user with an agent, the proof of concept agent. What if you had one user with multiple agents? What if you had a team of agents that are your co-workers? It's not a user with agents, it's a user and agents. Are we talking about a piece of software? Are we talking about co-workers or something in between, right? So it's shifting that mindset. It's changing the way we think. And the same thing goes for the proof of concepts. They are valuable, don't get me wrong. But I think with the AI platforms of today, and the keyword here is the platform, right? We can start building in a more foundational sense, not just doing the proof of concept. And we can start thinking about what can we do to that procurement? What can we do that wasn't possible to automate before? If you look back the last 10, 20 years, it was very difficult to automate the tasks that we may have to perform daily, right? So if I had a repeating task, it took some very dedicated software knowledge, some expertise to automate that workflow. But today, we can achieve quite a bit of automation with just simple AI tools, right? So if we start thinking about that as an option, we can start thinking about doing actual value. We can start thinking about automation, working with AI, having that AI platform, that foundation, and that's the real concrete shift. Not thinking about the proof of concept.
That is correct, and in one way also, like if you're from the organizations that are doing the proof of concepts, do be quick in that. So like see if it works or not. Don't get stuck in the pilots or POCs. So that is something I think we all should strive for. Not get stuck. Move on. Did it work? Yes. Didn't? Okay. Drop it. If it did, then kind of move to the next. Yeah. So and also about this kind of what don't focus too much on the technology in a way, a little bit of like from, again, we're coming back to this cloud aspect, right? So what it's not about what, we have this internet, like, okay, we have models, we have that, what it can do to our business model, what it can do to our kind of processes, right? So what bottlenecks it can solve.
Definitely, and that's the key question here, I feel. It's very easy to compare models and asking of, if you can pass this test or that test, or how good is it at maths, for example? A very common question, what can the model do? But the answer isn't really that valuable to us now, is it? It's interesting, don't get me wrong, but to achieve value from your AI foundation or solution or platform, yeah, what can I do? What's slow? What's inefficient? What can I automate? What bottleneck can I solve? I think that's the real question we should be asking.
And lately I've been also I've been agreeing on the notion that yes, there are bottlenecks, but there's also something untapped, some new type of business model. But that is a whole new different kind of aspiration, I think, for organization to say like, okay, so we have these bottlenecks, but in addition, what new business models or what new capabilities this kind of unlocks to us. That is also very good to keep in mind. I kind of take my hat on to the organizations who are kind of diving into that question, but I'm also being realistic that not a lot of companies have, let's say, energy and time to focus on new business models.
I think there's going to be new business that arises from AI.
Definitely.
And we're already seeing that. New startups, applications, new unicorns. But it's also very difficult to pivot to being that unicorn, right?
That is true. Not a lot of organizations would be able to do that. Yeah. So so this is a little bit coming back to this kind of beyond proof of concept notion, right, as well, but also from the cultural point of view. So we should think about where we should put more gas, or we should stop and move to the next thing. So so how we can scale quickly, and how in the cases where the scaling is not needed. So let's move to the next thing. What about this kind of how organizations should view it? So a few thoughts only, OP, from that.
Yeah, and this is where we come back to the foundational questions. What are we actually doing? Are we buying licenses? Are we deploying those licenses to users? And what is the speed of moving into value from there? No, instead, should we start considering AI as our platform in the future? Is that even possible? And I think this is a really interesting way of framing it, is instead of buying an application and buying that AI license, buying credits into this or that LLM, instead of that transaction, maybe we should start looking at whether this could be a foundational piece of our IT stack, or the way our company performs business. Is it something that we have solutions on top of? Is it something that we have a business model on top of that relies on AI? And if the AI can be a piece of infrastructure in our tech stack, managed as such as well. That's another thing, is we are currently buying the ready-made solutions. Quite often we are just doing the software as a service solution, but we are buying that credit into that LLM and the Copilot or OpenAI's chatbot or whichever it is, right? But we can also start doing our governances, and we can start building that foundational layer, that infrastructure.
Yes.
And then answering those questions around trust and security and all of that stuff as well.
Yeah, because then if those things are in place, the foundational part, the governance, security, then it's easier to scale also and move to the, let's say, new untapped areas when the technology permits.
Yeah.
So of course it's good to remind ourselves that what is possible today is something, X, and then what is possible in a year's time is completely something different. But if you have those kind of, let's say, if you think about AI a little bit like the infrastructure, you have those governance, security,
and the guardrails.
Yes, you have that already in place, so it is much kind of quicker later. So maybe a few words, OP, from that. So how like organizations would feel that they have these a little bit slow processes when it comes, to implementing things. There are IT that needs to check certain things, maybe from finance side. Of course, we can't just spend huge amounts of money for so. How should we think about?
Yeah, so the spend and the security and all of that, and that is it's a concern, right? Isn't it? We are unsure of how safe is this, and we are unsure of how much is it going to cost. I think these questions are super valid, but we should establish the answers once, is how I feel we should treat this. And that's returning to the proof of concept mindset a little bit. If we have AI solution number one, and we do a check on the costs, okay, it's going to cost X million euros, and then it's going to require these security. We need to secure our data, and we need to set up boundaries, and we do the governance for that solution, and we complete our proof of concept, and we go to the next. How are we going to now do another proof of concept, and are we now going to do another check of what is it going to cost, how secure is it, what guardrails do we have in place, yada yada. Are we going to repeat that cycle? Or if we are thinking about the infrastructure and we're saying, okay, we are going to be building value out of AI, well, let's do that. Let's do the whole thing. And we will consider the cost, and we will consider the guardrails and the quality of our data. We'll do that exercise once, but it's scalable enough where we can then take the next LLM, we can take the next AI solution, we can build the next application on the foundation that we build. And that's the kind of speed line thinking. We should think of scale when we do these governance exercises, for example. It's not just about the proof of concept. It's not just about the governance. It's about having this foundation to build on, right?
Yeah, so it is easy to repeat and scalable when needed. So yeah, I think we kind of, let's say, discussed about the issue of velocity gap again. The technology is moving fast, and we as organizations are kind of a little bit, I feel like this, not maybe stuck in the mud, but a little bit
going from another proof of concept to the second.
Yeah, so a little bit slowish. So we are proposing that it kind of needs to take this mindset shift.
Yeah.
And how do you think, like, is this how realistic from organizations' point of view? Like, is this too much to ask, or is this doable?
And the methods and the processes are already there, and the drive is already there. You want to improve your processes, right? So now we start looking at what we can actually do, right? So we don't need to measure against the velocity of the platform provider, but we definitely can start building those wins if you look at the velocity of our